There's a rare kind of presence that lingers. Long after you've left the room, a wordless memory, a scent of something deeper, a silence that doesn't fade. Some people, without trying, without begging, stay imprinted in the mind. And others are forgotten before the next breath. This video is for those who choose the former. You don't need to chase to be remembered. You don't need to impress to hold space in someone's thoughts. You only need to move with subtlety, with self-mastery, with presence. And in a world obsessed with louder, faster, bolder, you will captivate by doing the opposite. Today, we'll explore 9 Stoic-rooted, quietly powerful tricks to keep someone thinking of you constantly. These are not games, they are practices, not manipulation, but deep alignment with your highest self. When lived authentically, they don't just draw others in, they elevate your own standard. If this kind of subtle magnetism speaks to you, if you're ready to become unforgettable without saying too much, then this is your path. Take a moment now to breathe. Settle into the pace of your own thoughts, and if you're already feeling the pull of this message, I invite you to like the video, subscribe to the Everlasting Stoic, and share your presence here. It helps this movement grow, and you never know who might need this energy next. Now, let's begin where all unforgettable people do. Chapter 1. Stay unpredictable. They cannot stop thinking about what they cannot pin down. Predictability is comfort, but mystery is obsession. If you move through the world always doing what they expect, showing up when they predict, saying exactly what they assume, then you become background noise. They'll appreciate you. They may even admire you, but you won't haunt them. You won't echo in the back of their mind when the world goes quiet. To stay in someone's thoughts, you must be a puzzle with one piece always missing. This is not about being erratic or chaotic. The Stoic mind does not flirt with disorder. It's about intentional variance, controlled contrast, a rhythm that never plays the same melody twice. Perhaps today you are calm and warm, soft in tone, and tomorrow you are distant, contemplative, immersed in your craft, not cruel, not cold, simply unavailable, mysteriously so. Let them wonder why. Do not always reply instantly. Do not always be online. Do not always be available. In fact, make your presence something rare, like fine incense that only burns on specific days, at specific hours in temples few may enter. You become precious by being scarce. You become unforgettable by being unpredictable. It also applies to how you dress, how you speak, how you express your thoughts. One day, wear earth tones and speak in poetry. Another, sharp lines and few words. Let them sense there are parts of you they will never fully understand. Layers unfolding slowly like smoke in a breeze. The goal is not confusion, it's depth. Many people confuse accessibility with intimacy. They think, if I'm always there, they'll always think of me. But the mind does not crave what is always present. It craves what leaves room to imagine. Unpredictability also requires a rich inner life. If you don't know what you'll be tomorrow, because you are constantly growing, learning, changing, they won't know either. That subtle flux becomes magnetic. Read strange books. Take silent walks in unknown places. Learn something outside your comfort zone. Change your schedule sometimes. Leave before the party ends. Say less when they expect more. And speak when they least expect. Let your mystery become their obsession. There's also a deeper truth here. When you stop broadcasting every thought, every move, every plan, you regain a sense of personal power. Most people overshare because they fear being forgotten. But the Stoic knows, to be remembered, you must sometimes disappear. In the ancient world, the most desired oracles spoke in riddles. The most revered figures vanished into the mountains. They created absence, and in doing so, they created presence. A presence that lingered. A presence that grew in silence. So ask yourself this. When was the last time you surprised them? Not with a gift, but with your absence or your transformation. This is not about playing hard to get. That is child's play. This is about becoming an unfolding myth. Just when they think they've understood your rhythm, you shift, just slightly. Enough to make them pay attention again. In a culture that demands instant gratification, be the one who makes them wait, not cruelly, not manipulatively, but wisely, calmly, confident in the pull of your own frequency. And now I'll ask you something. What is one moment when someone's unpredictability made you unable to forget them? Or perhaps, when your own subtle shift kept someone staring long after you'd left? Share it in the comments. Let's gather a scroll of memories that prove it is not always the loudest who linger. It is the ones who dared to move like the wind. Chapter 2. Master your presence. Presence is a power few understand, and even fewer embody. It has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with how you are. When someone cannot stop thinking about you, it is often not because of what you did. It is because of how it felt to be near you. Your presence left an imprint, not because it was flashy or loud, but because it was anchored. To master your presence is to become deeply, unmistakably here. Not distracted, not performative, but real. Calm, focused, the kind of stillness that causes others to notice their own chaos. When you walk into a room, and your energy is fully intact, when you are not fragmented by anxiety, not reaching for validation, not spinning in self-conscious loops, you draw attention without effort. You become a mirror, and people cannot help but look into you to see themselves more clearly. But to cultivate this kind of presence, you must first master solitude. Presence begins in silence. It grows in spaces where no one else is watching. When you sit with yourself and do not flinch at your own thoughts, when you can breathe through discomfort without fleeing, when you become your own anchor, then and only then will your presence speak louder than any words. The Stoics lived this truth. They did not speak to be heard. They spoke to express inner clarity. They did not seek applause. They sought alignment. They were comfortable in silence, in restraint, in stillness, because they had mastered the art of being with themselves. When you are alone, do you scroll to escape? Do you check your phone for reassurance? Or can you sit like a mountain in mist, undisturbed? Mastering presence means you carry this energy everywhere. On a date, you're not trying to impress, you're just there. Warm eyes, quiet smile, no rush to fill the silence, no attempt to steer the moment. You let it breathe. When you walk, walk slowly. Feel your feet on the ground. Don't race. Don't chase. When you speak, pause. Let your words land like stones in still water. And when you listen, really listen. Most people are not heard. If you can offer even 10 seconds of pure attention, they will remember you. This isn't just romantic, it's magnetic. Your presence tells the world, I am enough right now. And people cannot forget those who don't need to be remembered. There's another layer. Presence is not just stillness. It is also intensity. Quiet intensity. The kind that flickers behind your eyes. The kind that makes people think they know something. The kind that holds its ground even when interrupted, insulted, ignored. If your presence dissolves under pressure, it was never rooted. But if your presence remains unchanged, undisturbed, it becomes unforgettable. You become an experience, and people crave experiences more than they crave people. Let your gestures be intentional, your movements slow, your gaze steady, not predatory, but profound, not demanding, but aware. And one last thing, don't explain your presence. Don't over-clarify. Don't seek to be understood. The more you explain yourself, the more you give away your magic. Let them feel you, not just hear you. If you've ever met someone whose energy stayed with you for days, whose simple glance felt like lightning in slow motion, then you know what I mean. That wasn't charisma. It was presence. Now ask yourself, when are you most present? What makes you feel anchored? And how do you want to be remembered when you leave the room? Share your reflection below. Someone else might be needing your answer right now. Chapter 3. Leave a lasting mark. There is a kind of impact that lingers long after touch. It lives in scent, in tone, in a specific glance that cuts through the noise. To keep someone thinking of you constantly, you must learn to leave a mark, not just in moments of closeness, but in every subtle trace you leave behind. And the truth is, the most powerful impressions are rarely intentional. They're the result of being deeply present, of engaging from a place of sincerity, rather than performance. Ask yourself, when you leave a room, what remains? Is it your words, your scent, a certain cadence in your voice? Or something deeper, something they can't quite name? To leave a lasting mark, become unforgettable in small ways. The mind rarely clings to the whole picture. It seizes on fragments, a single sentence you once said that revealed your depth, the peculiar way you see the world, shared through a quiet metaphor, the curve of your smile when you didn't know they were watching. These are the seeds of memory. Most people try to impress through volume, but those who linger do so through specificity. Instead of saying something loud, say something real. Instead of being everywhere, be somewhere fully. Let the quality of your presence be so rich, so textured, that even silence from you carries weight. Think of scent. It's one of the most primal memory triggers. A certain cologne, faint and unique, can stir an entire memory, even years later. What scent do you wear? Is it common, forgettable, or is it an aromatic signature that matches your energy? Dark, woody, clean, ancient, calming. Now think of your voice. When you speak, do you rush, or do you let your words breathe? Do you use silence as punctuation? Do you allow warmth to soften your tone? The voice is one of the most sensual instruments we have, yet most people use it without reverence. A single phrase said in the right rhythm can replay in someone's mind for days. But beyond the sensory is the energetic, emotional fingerprints are the strongest. When you make someone feel deeply seen, without agenda, you leave a mark that their soul remembers. Not because you tried to fix them, not because you filled them with flattery, but because you noticed something no one else did and named it gently. You can also leave marks by being a portal. Introduce them to a book, a song, a poem, a place they'd never known. Weeks later, they'll hear that song again and think of you. They'll return to that book and remember the moment you first described its beauty. You become an emotional anchor, attached to the things that opened their mind. But here's the catch. To leave a mark, you must be authentic. If your every move is calculated, it will eventually be seen. True imprinting happens not from manipulation, but from meaning. When you show up with honesty, people sense it, and it stays. Think of those people who live on in your mind. Chances are, it wasn't because they said the most, or were the most beautiful. It's because in some precise and piercing way, they left a small imprint on your psyche. And no matter how much time has passed, that imprint hasn't faded. Now reflect on this. What is your mark? What energy do you leave behind when you exit a conversation, a room, a connection? If you're brave enough, share it in the comments. Or share the mark someone once left on you, the kind you never forgot. Your story might awaken someone else's. Chapter 4. Focus on your path. The greatest paradox of desire is this. The more you focus on them, the more you fade. The more you focus on your path, the more they watch. This is not just a trick. It is a universal truth. Obsession is repellent. Self-possession is magnetic. When your energy is tangled up in wondering what they're thinking, how they're feeling, when they'll call, or whether they're noticing you, you lose your edge. You leak power, and worse, you become forgettable. But when you return your focus inward, when your days are filled not with questions about them, but with devotion to your own path, you become unforgettable. The Stoic path is not one of apathy. It is one of clarity. Clarity about what is yours to control, and what is not. Their thoughts, not yours. Their pace, not yours. Their feelings, not yours. But your discipline, your creativity, your healing, your mission, entirely yours. When you focus on your path, something shifts in the air around you. You walk differently. You speak with more precision. You take longer pauses. You no longer need constant reassurance, because your worth is being lived, not begged for. You become a presence, not a pursuit. People notice this. They may not understand it. They may even resent it. But they feel it. They sense that your gaze is on a distant summit, and they wonder what it would feel like to walk beside you. In focusing on your path, you also change the kind of attention you attract. No longer do you draw those who seek to be entertained or flattered. You begin to attract those who are ready to rise with you or be left behind. This is where true mystery lives, not in games, not in silence for its own sake, but in motion. Forward motion. When you are moving forward in your life quietly and powerfully, people who once ignored you begin to take notice. They wonder why your energy has shifted. They sense the detachment, not from coldness, but from centeredness. And let's speak plainly. When you focus on your path, you become rare. Because most people are lost in others. Most people are reactive. You, by contrast, are directional. This is unforgettable. So what does it look like? It means choosing growth over validation, reading instead of waiting, creating instead of obsessing, being alone and still feeling whole, moving your body not to impress, but to honor it, saying no with grace, taking up space. It means your attention is sacred, not easily given, and not easily taken. But none of this means isolation. You can still care. You can still love. You can still connect, but you do so from wholeness, not hunger. That is what makes it so powerful. That is what stays with them long after they leave you. They felt your self-respect. They tasted your depth, and now they're left wondering what else you've become since they last saw you. And now I ask you, what part of your path are you ready to return to? What piece of yourself have you given too much of, chasing a moment that never gave back? If that question stirs something in you, write it, speak it, share it in the comments below. If you feel called, your path may inspire someone else to find their own again. Chapter 5. Stir their curiosity. Nothing lives longer in the mind than a question left unanswered. To stir someone's curiosity is to lodge yourself into the folds of their thoughts, not as a conclusion, but as a mystery. Curiosity is not about trickery. It's not about deception. It's about holding something back. Not out of fear, but out of confidence. It's about creating a space where their mind has to move toward you to fill in the blank. Think of how few people truly do this. Most reveal everything in the first hour. Their past, their wounds, their goals, their fears. They spill their soul not out of connection, but out of nervousness. Out of a desperate need to be known quickly. But the unforgettable ones, they offer themselves in slow sips. Like a strong wine or a timeless book. They unfold in chapters, not to withhold, but to respect the process. To stir curiosity, you must learn the art of elegant restraint. Say just enough, leave just enough unsaid. Offer insights, then pull back into silence. Let your pauses become invitations, not awkward gaps, but sacred space. You don't need to explain every choice. Let your life speak for itself. Let your eyes suggest more than your words reveal. The more they sense there's more, the more they need to know. This also means embracing ambiguity. You do not always need to clarify your feelings, your thoughts, your intentions. Let them guess sometimes. Let them ask questions. Let them wonder, what did that mean? And then let them sit with the question. You become unforgettable, not by being obvious, but by being intriguing. This also applies to how you tell your story. When you share your past, don't list it, shape it. Tell it like a myth, a lesson, a series of turning points. Frame your growth with meaning. Share strange moments that reveal your uniqueness. A single sentence about a childhood experience, delivered at the right moment, can reveal more depth than a whole autobiography. But curiosity isn't just about withholding. It's about how you ask. People remember those who ask questions that no one else dares to. When you meet someone, don't settle for small talk. Go deeper. Ask what they dream about, what they fear losing, what memory haunts them in the quiet. Then listen. Truly listen. They'll associate your presence with depth, and that association becomes unforgettable. Curiosity is a two-way flame. When you ignite it in them, they begin to look for you in their thoughts. They wonder when you'll appear again. They notice your absence. And they begin to replay the last time you spoke, looking for clues. This is not manipulation. This is intention. It's an art form. It's about quality over quantity. It's about being a rare book, not a billboard. And the more you live a curious life, exploring, wondering, noticing strange details, the more naturally this energy will radiate from you. You'll become someone who moves through life like a question mark, open, alive, unsummarized. Now I ask you to do something unusual. Share in the comments below what's one question you've never been asked, but wish someone would. And while you reflect on that, know this: it's not always what you say that makes them remember you. Sometimes it's the question you leave echoing behind you. Chapter 6. Show quiet strength. In a world that shouts to be seen, the ones remembered most are those who move through life with quiet strength. They are not loud. They do not posture. They do not need applause. But the moment they walk into a room, something shifts. People feel safer, or more curious, or more aware of their own noise. These individuals, rooted in calm, dignified power, are unforgettable, and they linger in the minds of others not because they demanded attention, but because they commanded it effortlessly. Quiet strength is not weak, nor is it passive. It is deliberate, unshakable. It is deliberate, unshakable. It is the kind of force that never needs to announce itself, because it has nothing to prove. When you speak calmly in a heated room, when you hold your boundaries without rage, when you listen more than you speak, but every word you say cuts clean and deep, you embody quiet strength. And that strength haunts the memory of others. Why? Because most people operate from reactivity. Their moods swing with attention. Their tone changes depending on who is watching. Their identity shifts to match the energy in the room. But when you remain still, when your center is not for sale, you reveal the contrast. You show them what it looks like to be steady, to be sovereign, to be self-governed. This creates a powerful echo in their mind. They begin to wonder, what is it about this person? Why does their silence speak louder than others shouting? And suddenly, you've become a presence that walks with them even in your absence. To build this quiet strength, you must go inward first. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, spent his nights writing not about conquest, but about controlling his own emotions, about rising above insult, about not allowing others' chaos to become his own. You must do the same. This kind of strength comes from self-respect, from knowing what you believe and living it, from choosing dignity over dominance, from refusing to compete for things that are beneath your path. When someone disrespects you and you respond with silence, not avoidance, but piercing calm, that is power. When others rush to prove their worth, and you simply exist with integrity, you create curiosity, because your energy says, I know who I am. And people remember that. They crave it. They search for it in others and rarely find it. So when they find it in you, even once, they remember. You also show quiet strength in restraint. When you could reveal everything, but choose to hold back. When you could attack, but choose to understand. When you could chase, but choose to stay still. These choices don't make you passive. They make you disciplined. And that discipline is deeply magnetic. There's a kind of mystery in someone who doesn't react the way others do. It stirs questions. Why aren't they panicking? Why aren't they explaining themselves? Why don't they need to be understood? And slowly, the attention shifts. You stop being one of many. You become one of one. But don't confuse this with stone-faced suppression. Quiet strength is not emotional numbness. It's emotional awareness paired with emotional mastery. You still feel. You still love. You still care. But you do not leak. You do not let those feelings override your principles. You lead with steadiness. You carry storms inside but show only clarity on the outside. And that contrast, that quiet tension between softness and discipline, is deeply compelling. Let them feel it. Let them wonder. If you've ever known someone whose calm made the entire room settle, whose very presence seemed to remind you that everything would be all right, then you've felt the impact of quiet strength. Now I ask you, when have you shown quiet strength in your life? Or when did someone else's composure make you stop and reflect? If a memory comes to mind, share it below. Let this comment section become a gallery of strength. Not shouted, but remembered. Chapter 7. Let them miss you. Absence is not a weakness. When used with wisdom, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in attraction, memory, and human emotion. If you want to be thought of constantly, truly remembered, not just momentarily noticed, then you must become comfortable with distance, with space, with walking away for a time, not in anger, but in trust. Trust that your presence was strong enough. Trust that your energy leaves ripples. Most people make the mistake of thinking more contact equals more connection. They text constantly. They call daily. They show up repeatedly, fearing that if they don't, they'll be forgotten. But in doing so, they never give the other person time to feel their absence. And without absence, there can be no longing. Longing requires contrast. It needs silence to notice the music. It needs stillness to notice the movement. It needs the lack of your presence to appreciate how rich it truly was. The Stoics understood detachment, not as withdrawal, but as discipline, as the art of loving without owning, of giving space without fear, of trusting what is yours will remain, and what is not will drift. To let someone miss you is not to play games. It is to honor the dance of presence and absence, to understand that your energy is a rare frequency, not a tap that pours endlessly. When you give richly, but you also retreat, so they can notice the shift. Imagine this. You've had a powerful conversation. You shared depth, laughter, truth, and then you disappear for a while. No announcement, no dramatics, just space. What happens? They feel the echo. They revisit your words. They scroll through your pictures. They start to imagine what you're doing and why you haven't reached out. And slowly, they realize your silence speaks more than others' noise. This only works if your presence had value. If your energy was shallow or performative, your absence will be a relief. But if your presence was rooted in authenticity, then your absence will ache. It will pull. Let them miss your insight, your warmth, your focus. Let them realize what the world feels like without your attention. And when you return, quietly, calmly, they will be reminded of what they once had. This also gives you space to grow. Absence isn't just for them, it's for you. It allows you to recalibrate, to rise, to return fuller, stronger, more aligned. And when you do, you're no longer the same person. You've expanded, and now you bring even more to the table. But remember, missing someone is not always instant. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes weeks. Sometimes it only hits when they meet someone new and realize that no one else carries your frequency. And that's when they return to your memory, not out of habit, but out of hunger. There is great courage in stepping back. It says, I am not afraid to be forgotten, because I know I won't be. It says, I trust the quality of what I offer. So if you're constantly reaching out, constantly trying to maintain the thread, ask yourself this: are you afraid they'll forget? Or are you afraid they'll realize? Sometimes, giving space reveals truth. And that truth, even if painful, is powerful. It frees you to focus on those who do notice, those who do miss you, those who stay without being chased. Now I invite you to share. When was the last time someone's absence hit you unexpectedly? Or, when did your silence speak louder than any word? Write it in the comments. Sometimes what we don't say teaches us the most. Chapter 8. Shine without effort. True magnetism is not built. It's uncovered to keep someone thinking of you constantly. The most paradoxical trick is this. Stop trying so hard, because effort has a scent. It smells like desperation. And desperation never lingers beautifully. Instead, shine without effort. Let your brilliance come from alignment, not ambition. From calm confidence, not clamoring. From being, not performing. This is the energy of someone who knows their value and moves through the world with relaxed excellence. The kind of person who doesn't need validation, but still receives it. Who doesn't seek attention but gets it anyway. Who doesn't broadcast their glow but glows nonetheless. This kind of effortless shine is not laziness. It's ease born of mastery. Think of a master craftsman. They don't rush. They don't show off. But every movement they make, every stroke, carries decades of depth. They've earned their grace, and you feel it in the silence between their words. To shine without effort, you must stop performing. Stop bending yourself to be liked. Stop curating every sentence to please. Instead, focus on presence. Focus on honesty. Focus on becoming someone you admire when no one else is watching. This also means letting go of the need to explain yourself. When you live with alignment, your life is the explanation. You don't need to convince others of your worth. You embody it. You speak when it's time. You act when it matters. And you never force. You flow. There is an undeniable beauty in someone who has nothing to prove. They laugh when they want to, not when it's expected. They compliment because they feel it, not to get something back. They dress with quiet elegance. They listen more than they speak, and every so often, they say something that strikes the soul, and then falls silent again. People remember this. They remember how they felt around you. Not impressed, but moved. Not dazzled, but drawn in. To shine without effort also requires that you trust the process, that you stop measuring every move, that you stop watching for reactions. When you detach from outcome, you become radiant. This glow cannot be faked. It is the result of doing the inner work, of living with discipline, with clarity, with care. It's your aura, your presence, your authenticity, doing the talking for you. When others scramble to be seen, you simply stand. When others reach, you wait. And in that restraint, you radiate. And here's the truth. People feel when someone is trying to be loved. And they feel when someone already is. Loved by themselves. Loved by their life. Loved by their own sense of direction. That difference makes all the difference. Now reflect for a moment. What does your presence say when you say nothing? What part of you still believes you need to impress to be worthy? Write your thoughts below. There is quiet strength in being seen, just as you are. Chapter 9. Be their unspoken goal. There is a kind of presence that doesn't just capture attention. It rewrites someone's sense of what's possible. To to be truly unforgettable, to live in the thoughts of another not for a moment, but for a lifetime, you must become more than a person. You must become a standard, not a fantasy, not an idol, but a quiet goal, a benchmark, an internal whisper that says, be more like that. And the irony is this: you don't achieve this by trying to become what others want. You become their unspoken goal by becoming exactly who you are, fully, without compromise, without hesitation, without apology. This is not about perfection. In fact, it is the opposite. People do not crave the flawless. They crave the whole. And wholeness means complexity. It means depth. It means shadows and strength held in the same hand. When someone sees you walking your path with conviction, when they feel your inner harmony, your balance between strength and softness, intensity and grace, they begin to reflect on themselves. They begin to ask, what am I doing with my own life? You don't need to say a word. Your existence begins to challenge them, to inspire them, to haunt them in the most sacred way. The Stoics taught that we must become the person we ourselves would admire, that we must live so clearly, so firmly aligned with virtue, that others feel it, even in our silence. This is what it means to be their unspoken goal, not through domination, not through manipulation, but through authentic excellence. Imagine being the person who doesn't just turn heads, but turns minds, who doesn't just attract, but activates, who doesn't just stir desire, but redefines standards. To become this, you must live in your integrity. You must be courageous enough to say no when it's easier to say yes. You must be focused enough to keep moving when distractions whisper. You must be gentle enough to connect and strong enough to detach. You must be the person who remembers birthdays when others forget, who shows up when others flake, who speaks calmly when others shout, who leaves gracefully when others cling. These things seem small, but they carve a place in the soul of others, quietly, unshakably, and yes, they will compare. Not because you ask them to, but because they can't help it. They will meet others who speak louder, try harder, chase faster, and still, they'll remember you. The way you didn't rush, the way you didn't force, the way you became. There is no shortcut to this kind of impact. You must walk through your own pain. You must grow, fail, rebuild, refine. You must be willing to become again and again. Because when you do, you create a living energy that stays with people. They'll think of you when they're lonely, not because you filled the silence, but because you made silence feel rich. They'll think of you when they're confused, not because you gave all the answers, but because your questions made them wiser. They'll think of you when they're lost, not because you led them, but because you walked so fully in your own direction. This is not just about love. It applies to friendships, to strangers, to everyone who crosses your path. To be someone's unspoken goal is not about being idolized. It's about being felt. It's about living so honestly that others wonder what it would feel like to live that way too. And now, I invite you to reflect deeply. Who is one person that shifted your standard of what's possible? Not because they tried to teach you, but simply because they lived their truth. Share that name or that memory. Let it be seen. Because somewhere, someone might read your words and realize that is who they want to become. Conclusion. You do not need to shout to be remembered. You do not need to chase to be wanted. You do not need to prove to be enough. The truth is, if you walk through the world with depth, with intention, with a fierce devotion to your inner alignment, people will think of you constantly. Not because you asked them to, not because you demanded it, but because your presence cannot be ignored. These 9 practices are not surface tricks. They are habits of power. They are stoic in their calm, rooted in self-awareness, and designed not to win games but to live well, to live memorably. Stay unpredictable. Master your presence. Leave a lasting mark. Focus on your path. Stir their curiosity. Show quiet strength. Let them miss you. Shine without effort. And above all, become someone who raises the standard simply by existing. If any part of this message stirred something in you, if you feel the call to live in a way that resonates long after you're gone, then this channel, The Everlasting Stoic, is where you belong. Tap that subscribe button, leave a like, and if this video reminded you of someone who carries this energy, share it with them. They deserve to know their presence is felt. And as always, I invite you to write your thoughts below. What line stayed with you? What insight will you carry into tomorrow? Let's turn this comment section into a reflection chamber. Let's build a quiet revolution, one that doesn't scream to be seen, but leaves a mark too deep to forget. Until next time, walk slow, speak less, live deep, and let your silence echo.